Talk a Book. I'm Arifa, and Talk a Book is a concept where we are reading a book, not in a very traditional way, not word by word or sentence by sentence, but in a more, fun and interesting way through presentations, through photographs, through videos, and to top it all, living legends are joining us and talking about their success stories, which helps us believe the ideas the author has put across in this book in a far better way. Well, as the tradition goes, before I go to our special guest today, I will take up a quick recap. We all are blessed to have Mr. Moin Malak with us, who will be sharing quite a few things, his success story definitely, but how to overcome adversities and much more. But before that, let me quickly go to the chapters that we'll be taking. So we are reading the book, The Habit of Winning, written by Mr. Prakash Iyer. We have already completed 9 sections of this book. We are left with 2 more. And in those 9 sections, we saw many, many stories, wonderful anecdotes and analogies put up by the author. Well, the 10th section is finding balance. It is very important in life. Well, it is important for a leader, definitely. The secret to life is finding the right balance to everything you do. Quickly, I'll take a recap of the chapters we'll do in the next session on Tuesday. So the first is the PepsiCo chief and the call from Coke. Here, the author is basically talking about honesty, how important that factor or that quality is for leaders. Enough. Do you have it? Oh, this is a wonderful chapter and beautiful story. Here, the author is basically putting across the point that happiness and being content with what you have is very important. Pig and other games people play. So here, the author has taken the analogy from a game called Pig, and he has put across a point that greediness is not good and we should know when to quit. Next, smelling the coffee. The author has taken his own story, his own life experience, and then a very famous story which talks about practicing moderation in life and how this again is an important factor of leadership. What's better than winning a gold medal? Losing it. Oh, again, a wonderful point made by the author here, and has taken a good story. I will also show you a video on this. It's wonderful. And the last, work-life balance and the Waugh brothers. So as you can see in the topic itself, the author is talking about the story of Steve Waugh and Mark Waugh, very famous cricketers from Australia, and their story talking about how sacrifice is important in striking a balance in work and life. Well, all this in our coming session on Tuesday. We'll discuss all these chapters, but today it's time now to go to our special guest and have a worthy conversation with him. But before I start talking to him, I would like to show you a small video that I have prepared.
There are essentially 2 things that will make us wise: the books we read and the people we meet. Talk a Book caters to both. We are reading a bestseller book and champions join us to talk about their success mantra. What an experience indeed. Talk a Book welcomes another champion from the world of golf, Mr. Moin Malak. Golf is a gentleman's game, an intricate sport which is quite symbolic of life. गोल्फ में भारत को कई पदक जिताने वाले मोइन मलक की दिलचस्पी इस खेल से कुछ ऐसी रही कि उन्होंने प्रोफेशनल गोल्फर्स करियर कॉलेज कैलिफोर्निया यूएसए से प्रोफेशनल गोल्फ में स्पेशलाइज्ड डिग्री हासिल की। भारत लौटकर एमेच्योर सर्किट में अपना नाम रोशन किया by winning prestigious and coveted tournaments like Eastern India Championship and amateur title in India Open Asian Tour event. Because of his world ranking, he was invited to play the inaugural Asian Amateur Championship in China. उनका सपना साकार हुआ जब उन्होंने भारत की टीम के कैप्टन बनकर अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर जीत हासिल की. Before he turned to a professional golfer, he ranked third on the Indian Order of Merit. ऐसे ही कई सम्मान से नवाजे जाने वाले मोइन मलक अपनी जिंदगी को बैलेंस तरीके से जीने में विश्वास रखते हैं और समाज के प्रति जिम्मेदारी को भी बखूबी निभाते हैं. He is also the founder president of Mehdibagh Youth Club, which works for the betterment of the society. Hats off to you, sir. You are a true champion. जिंदगी छोटी सही कुछ कर गुजरने की चाह हो, तुम सा मिले जो रहनुमा, हासिल है मंजिल जान लो, हासिल है मंजिल जान लो. Thank you, sir, for accepting the invite on Talk a Book.
Hello, Arifa. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
I'm fine. So, as you know, we are having these talk a book sessions where we are reading the book, The Habit of Winning. And the author has put up so many qualities which are required for winning. And the chapter that we are going to start now, the section, is Finding Balance. And who better to talk about that than you? Once again, we all are blessed to have you. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Before you start with your questions, I would really like to say that this talk a book concept which you have started, it's very unique. It's very nice because, as we all know, most of us, yes, we like to read, but when we read on our own, there's only so much that we take out from that book. But when we discuss it, we learn a lot, especially discussing with others. So this concept which you have brought, it's really good. I congratulate you on it.
Thank you, sir.
And wish you all the success in your future talk books as well.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. And to start with the conversation, I would like to take up this first question that as Indians, we never think that we can specialize in a particular sport as our, academics, but you went ahead to do specialization in golf management. How did you take up that as your specialization?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I've been really blessed by God, and I've been very fortunate. And I've been fortunate in many ways. And one way is the support which I had, the support and vision that my father had for me. And that has always been my guiding light and guiding direction. And actually, he was the one who in my initial days or in my childhood saw sports as a good career option. And this I'm talking about 30 years back. So at that time, as most of us, this generation would know, the options we had was either become a doctor or an engineer. Basically, those two were it. But because of his vision and his dream, I got into sports very earlier on in my age. And then he found out about this professional golfers career college in the US, and we were visiting US to visit my sister over there during the summers. And we found out, and we went to the college, visited, and met the people over there. So the thing that caught us was the honesty of the dean of the college. He asked me that, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to play on the tour. I want to compete. So he said, that's well and good. But if that's all you want to do, then this college is not the place for you. He said, you'd rather go take coaching, do fitness, go to a mental coach and build your game and play. But then he said, the reason you should come to this college is once you are done competing, because a sportsman only has a certain age to compete.
True.
So he said, once you're done with competing, then what do you do? And that really struck the chord for us. And we started thinking, yes, that's true. And in going to this college, I was not only going to gain all the knowledge about golf, but also a lot related to golf, because till we went to that college, the only thing we knew was you either play golf or coach. That's about it. In any sport, you either play or you coach.
Correct.
But the moment we reached the college, we found out there is playing and coaching are like a small part of any sport. There is so much more involved to it. For example, the organization of tournaments, the media that plays a huge role behind it, advertising, clothing, equipment, golf course management, running golf courses, managing country clubs, uh, membership, so on and so forth, rules of golf. So there is so much of technicalities behind that. That really opened our eyes, and we said, "Wow, that there's a lot to any sport rather." So that interested me as well. And at that point, it was a full win-win situation for me, because I just started competing on the amateur tour, and the coaching or the golf courses that I would get to play while attending the college were all top world-class golf courses. And I would get coaching over there and gain all the knowledge about the game of golf, which would directly and indirectly help me in building my own game, my own confidence, and my own knowledge. So it was a total win-win combination. So we never hesitated to think twice and just got the admission. Fortunately, we got the visa.
Sports is also a complete subject,
It is.
which can be studied. It's not only
Yes.
about playing or only about coaching. It is about a lot of management that goes into sports.
True. Even psychology, because in any sport, and more so in golf, but in any sport, we now realize every good sportsman has a psychologist with them to
Yes.
train them mentally. Physically, we have physios. So all these aspects, unless you know about it, it's very difficult to realize how important they are in your career, especially when you're young, when you're in your 20s, when you're fit, you can do everything. You don't feel the need for a mental coach or a physical coach, but you really need them in today's day and age.
True, sir. And the next question that is coming up in my mind again and again as we are reading this section, Finding Balance, when we look at your life, you've been very successful golfer. You have contributed so much to the community and the society through Mehdi Bagh Youth Club. You've also been a very successful businessman. So what does it take to strike this balance?
Well, the way I look at it is, well, first of all, I think it's very important to have set your priorities right.
True.
So that really helps you, because it gives you direction where you want to go and what direction you want your life to follow in. And when you do that, you obviously have a list of things you would like to do. So I would think as if I were to paint a bouquet of flowers, and if I only concentrate on that one flower a long time, I might not get the time to finish my whole painting.
So true.
And in order to paint the whole bouquet, to keep a broad perspective on the larger picture, you have to give time to everything that you'd like to achieve. Otherwise, you just do one thing and miss out on the numerous other aspects of life.
Yes.
So it's difficult, but it's easy as well, because you like doing this, you like doing that. So I think you should find time to do everything, not just focus on one thing.
Correct. Sir, I would like to take you to that tournament which you won a very prestigious tournament, Eastern India Championship, conducted by RCGC. And that was a match play, and the last ball that you were going to hit, you were in the bunker, which is considered to be a hazard in golfing terms, or if we can call an obstacle. And your opponent was in a better position, a stronger position than you. What was going on in your mind at that point of time? How did you make it?
Well, to be honest, that tournament which I played, and like we were talking, the mental state of a sports person, that whole tournament, the mental state I was in from the first match till the finals, it was just something extraordinary. From the first match, I was just playing. I wasn't focused on the result as such. Of course, we all play to win, but none of the matches I was so focused on the end result. I just kept on playing, kept on winning matches after matches, and then when I reached the finals, I realized, okay, this is just one match and I can win it. And that was the first time I was in a contention or in that position. I had good support, as in when I reached the finals, my wife flew in and accompanied me. So that was a good moral boost for me. And the final match is played, a round of golf is 18 holes. So the finals is played on 36 holes. You play twice.
Okay.
And my opponent, Arshdeep Tiwana, is a good golfer, a good friend of mine then, and still he is. And when we started, after 18 holes, I was actually down by three or four points. I was down. But the both of us, we were thoroughly enjoying the match. At no point were we uncomfortable, or we were, it was a very healthy competition. Let's put it that way. And then later on, as the match progressed, I managed to half or equal our matches, and then it came down to this last hole, where both of us, we hit our drives, we missed the green. He had chipped the ball very close to the hole. In golf, a par is the score which you are supposed to have. That's called a par. So he was sitting very comfortably for a par. And my ball was actually, it was on the wall of the bunker in thick grass. So the ball was about knee high. And this is the type of shot which you never practice, because you never imagine yourself being in that position. And these are 1 in a million type of shots which you hit. So at that point, still it was the last hole. We were all tied, and the only thing that was going through my mind was, let's just hit it close to the hole, finish it half the hole, and then we'll go on to for a playoff, and we'll see what happens there. And I just got up, took my practice shots, hit the ball, and the green was on my eye level, so I could see the ball land on the green and then drop and start rolling. And after a while, I could just see the ball tracking straight towards the hole. And about a foot before the hole, I thought, oh my God, this is going to go in. And it just tracked the hole and finally fell into the hole. And I had just won the tournament just like that, from a very, very difficult position. So that's why that win is so memorable as well, because from the position I was after 18 holes, and then to come back and then to hit this type a 1 in a million shot out of that difficult position and to win it. So yeah, that was something else.
And what we can learn from here is true sportsmanship spirit, because competition is not about rivalry. It is about enjoying your game and then going ahead. So that's something we can learn from here.
In fact, during the match, actually during the later part of the match, I realized I was wearing a green t-shirt, my friend was wearing a red t-shirt, and there were a lot of people following us. And suddenly at one of the holes, I started hearing all these caddies and all these people shouting, "Mera lal ghoda, mera hara ghoda." And there were more lal ghodas than hara ghodas. Uh, uh, but I just looked at him and I just smiled. And because I was enjoying, I didn't get irritated by it, or I didn't get distracted by it. Rather, I was enjoying the whole atmosphere. And so was my opponent. So that's why we thoroughly enjoyed, and till we finished the match, uh, we really didn't feel like we were going after a cup, or we were trying to do something like this.
Sir, I think this is something we all should learn. But when we talk about learning, I would say as much I studied about golf, I realized that golf is very much symbolic of life. So what are the 3 lessons that we can learn from golf and adopt in our lives?
Well, what you say is very true. Golf is, it really is like a mini version of life. And when you play a round of golf, or people who have played golf can vouch for it, that the emotions that you go through while playing a round of golf, especially if you're, even if it's a small betting game against someone, everything that you go through, you can directly relate it to life. And the reason why golf is such a good teacher as well is because unlike in any other sport, in golf, in the rules of golf booklet, the first chapter itself is on etiquettes. So even before you learn the game of golf or learn the rules of golf, first you have to learn etiquettes. And etiquettes are all good manners, values, obviously no cheating and all that. But it's more about looking after another person. Like if someone is playing, you step backwards away from him. You don't make a noise. Do not disturb him. When you go on and play, and when we hit a shot, we dislodge a piece of grass out of the ground, because when we hit it, the divot comes out. So we are supposed to replace it, because the people playing behind us, if their ball ends up in that little divot, it's not fair for them. So there are a lot of etiquettes such as these which are taught even before you start learning about golf. So to begin with, that's a very good aspect of golf. Then what you go through in a round of golf is, when you play, you have to strategize each hole, how you're going to play. Because as in life, in golf, like you mentioned, there are a lot of hazards. There'll be sand, there'll be thick grass, there'll be water, there'll be trees. All kinds of hazards are there. So you have to calculate, you have to strategize where you'll hit what shot, then where you go on, and make the best out of it. And if it doesn't work out your way, then you have 2 options. Either you get angry, frustrated, and then mess up again, or you take what you've done, whatever situation you have, recalibrate, re-strategize, and move on from there. So, and then there'll be a shot where you'll hit the most perfect shot, and you think, oh, I've mastered this game. And the moment you think that, the next shot, most often than not, you're going to miss it. And then it brings you right back on the ground and makes you realize that, it teaches you about ego. It really brings you down back to earth. No matter how good you are, you will always be missing the simplest of shots. And in the toughest positions, you'll be hitting some of the most unbelievable shots. So it teaches you what you can do, but then it also brings you right down that no matter how good you are, life is there to test you. So don't fly on the seventh heaven or in the clouds, stay grounded. So these are the things. And then another thing is, like in life, uh, we strategize, we plan our life. We've planned out where we'll go, where we'll study, school, college, we'll do this job, this, that, and the other. So in golf also we of course strategize and plan our course and our round. But then what if it rains suddenly? Or what if the wind starts blowing? Then all your strategy, it's right gone through the door. So then either you deal with it, you accept that, okay, these conditions which are uncontrollables, which are not in your hands. All you can do is hit the shot. Beyond that, you cannot control anything. So if I get upset over the rain or the heat or the wind or all these uncontrollable factors, or the crowd or even my opponent or anything, I'll get irritated. I will be messing my game because I'm angry. The decisions I make will be wrong. I'll hit one bad shot after another, and then I'll be so bad that it's difficult to come out of it. And that happens in life as well. We make one bad decision, and instead of rectifying it or correcting, we either try to take shortcuts and fall deeper into trouble, or we think safely, take help, and take a safer way. So these are some of the aspects which we can directly relate to life. And then even taking risks. If you are in a position, you can take some calculated risks. Sometimes if you're in trouble, it's better to take the pill and play it safe and come out, take the penalty. But if you are in a position to take a risk where the reward is good enough, so you can take the risk as well. So you have all these options in a round of golf, which you have in our lifetime as well. Sometimes we take risks, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we take the cautious way. We plan our lives. We have family. We have our careers. So it's a wonderful game, and if you play it and if you think about it, it really makes you a better person, because a lot is said that like in the US, what they used to say is, if I want to interview, I'll take you on a golf course, because if I play a round of golf with you, I'll know your exact personality, your character, everything comes out in one round of golf. Because to impress me, either you'll be your own self, or you'll cheat, or you'll get angry, you'll get frustrated, or how calm you are, or how calmly you take decisions. And when you're in trouble, how do you deal with it? How do you handle yourself? So all these personality traits, which we otherwise see in people, they come out very easily on a golf course. So, yeah.
So true, sir. So true. I believe we often say in today's time, instant coffee, we are of the use of instant things, but in life, things do not work instantly. It takes time. And such good learnings from a sport like golf. Even the author in this book has put up so many examples and taken out so many learnings from sports itself. So we are back to Talk a Book, and we are having a conversation with a very famous and celebrated golfer, Mr. Moin Malak. He has already thrown light on so many aspects of life as well as golf. And the questions are not going to end actually, but I'm planning to have two more questions from Sir. One more and very important one is that one sports reporter once wrote for you that good guys don't always finish last. So that's a wonderful thing that he wrote. And also, when we go back a little and talk about your time in PGCC, where you were bestowed with the most prestigious award there, which is the Gerald Hall Sportsmanship Award. And that is given to a person who has contributed overall, not only to sports, but in all the other aspects of personality. Even after you started playing, not only your colleagues, but your seniors, your juniors, even your rivals respect you so much. So how easy or difficult it is to have this quality of benevolence, and how important is it to have it in us as a personality?
Uh, how easy or difficult? Well, I really don't know how to answer that, but it fortunately for me, uh, it was a personality trait which came naturally. Uh, if I am to say or to give the benefit of it, it all of it goes to my family, my forefathers, their teachings, especially the teachings in our community, Medibag community, and those are the values which have been set from the beginning, and so basically they're like imprinted in the personality, and that's the reason why it comes out naturally, because it's just a way of life, uh, to do the right things, or the moral values which we call it. uh, those were always there. It wasn't like a thing which was taught. It was something which we just did as a matter of fact. It's like in long time back there was a legend called Bobby Jones, and he was uh, he was playing a tournament, and he was deep inside the woods, and his he was the only one over there searching for his ball. And when he while he was searching, his ball moved. So if a ball moves, it's a penalty, and there was no one apart from him. So he called on the referee and he said, "Sir, my ball has moved, so I have to be penalized." And because of that penalty, uh, I believe he lost the tournament. But he did it. He called the penalty on himself. So later on, the reporters, everybody uh, came to him and talked to him about this incident and congratulated them. So they said, "Oh wow, you called a penalty on yourself. That's a great trait." So what Bobby Jones replied was, congratulating me on calling a penalty on myself is like thanking a robber for not robbing a bank. It's or thanking me for not robbing a bank. So it's something which you should do. It's morally right. It's not something that you're expected not to do. It's something you're expected to do. So yes, the sportsmanship award as well. That was a great achievement for me, because uh, being a foreigner in an American college, golf college, and there are a lot of people, seniors, juniors, all of them were there. And they specially, this is the first year that they specially gave two awards. Generally, they give only one, but they specially gave two awards this year, and one of them was for me. And they said, the way you've behaved, or the way you have been with us at this college for the past 2 years, on the course, off the course, the way you interacted with the faculty, with your fellow students, um, just everything that you used to do, you used to get involved. It's a wholesome personality trait. You are. They said even if you go and play a bad round of golf, looking at your face or your expressions, you cannot say that you've come back playing a good game of golf or a bad game of golf. You're always the same, and you always treat everybody the same. So that was yes, a very. I feel very honored to have that trophy given to me, and the reporter, when I won this match play event, that's when he wrote this article that good guys don't always finish last. And so I had that reputation on the amateur tour and on the pro tour as well. And but see, it also depends on what race you are uh, running, because good guys don't always finish last. Yes, but a lot of times that's not the race they're running. You know, it's that type of race is a very selfish race. It's like in that famous dialogue in Three Idiots is life is a race, but it's not a race, it's a journey.
Right.
You know, you complete the journey. And for me, it's if you talk about success, it's about finishing the journey and the condition you finish the journey in. And if you finish that journey all alone, then there's no one to share it with. There's no fun. But if you finish that journey with friends, with family, with so many people, then that is a memory you cherish or you have. And so success is when you do it collectively, not do it individually, because individually it's a selfish achievement. So in a lot of sense, if you are to call it, because yes, today it is said that you have to be shrewd, you have to be cunning, you have to do what it takes to win, you know, no matter what. Everything is fair in love and war, but we are not you know, fighting against each other. Even though we are playing, yes, we are competing to win, but if I win by putting my opponent down, or because he's having a bad day, or if I do something which is not proper, I won because he has played bad, not because I've played great. So that win to me would mean nothing, because it's not because of me, it's because my opponent didn't perform to his best ability. A win is really worthwhile when everyone else is playing their best and you are playing your best and you turn out to be on the top. So these are the type of I think races which successful people or the people who are thought about, or these legends in every sport, you'll see all these traits in them. Like for instance, if we talk about tennis, we take Roger Federer, we see how humble he is and the speeches he gives. We can see it in him that even though he has won so many tournaments, he is still humble.
Correct.
Before that, it was Pete Sampras. In cricket, we think about Sir Don Bradman. He was the most humble guy, and he always did what was right. He never did what you know, would have helped him in his career for his own personal benefit. So these are the people we talk about. These are the people who become mentors. These are the people who become guiding lights for millions and millions of people, for generations.
So true.
But in every tournament, there is a winner. Every decade, there is a world number one. Every year, there is a world number one in everything. But not all of them are remembered. Very few are remembered. And the only ones that are remembered are the ones who have these personality traits, these moral values instilled in them. John McEnroe was also one of the top tennis players, but yes, he is remembered not in a good way. But at the same time, there were Bjorn Borg, there was Boris Becker, there was all these others who were respected. So I believe true success is when you are respected, and yes, when you're respected by your rivals and when your peers. That is the true sign of success and achievement in my eyes.
So very profound learnings that we are getting. We have also talked about teamwork in this book, and as you were saying, that life is about taking people together and reaching there together, not alone. So again, it is very true, like the book also says. And I often tell this to my students also, that there's a difference between being successful and being great. a very fine difference. And I believe this is the difference in being successful. So all these people are also successful who are remembered in some different way. Maybe not a very pleasant way, but greatness is something which gives you a sense of fulfillment that, yes, I have lived an honorable life. So very true. My last question to you, sir, would be about adversities in life. We say that we have to overcome adversities. If we look at your life, very early in your life, you were detected with GB syndrome, where doctors had to say that you will not even be able to walk. But you went ahead and you became a champion in lawn tennis, and then after that, golf. A second incident that I'm reminded of is that tournament which you played for India. You were the captain of the team, and the other country teams had 4 players, whereas Indian team had only 3 players. And except you, the other 2 players were comparatively inexperienced and young. How did you people manage at that point of time? And you won that tournament. So how did you manage it? How do you think things turn out your way in spite of adversities?
Well, as the saying goes, where there's a will, there's a way. So, uh, but yes, first I'll talk about the team event which we played. Uh, we went to Pakistan to compete, and there were many other different countries as well there because it was an international event. And generally, we're supposed to have 4 member teams, and this time it was only 3 of us who were able to go from India. We didn't have a fourth, and this was my first time playing for the Indian team, and I was made the captain of the team, and I had two younger players with me, one of whom was Rashid Khan, who is now one of the top professional golfers of this country. He's doing great on the international scene as well. So we were there, and we knew that in the reason why there were 4 for everyone else is all 4 members play, and at the end of the day, 3 best scores are taken out of the 4. And we were only 3, so we had no option. All 3 of us had to perform. So we knew that from the beginning. And so yes, that adversity, that challenge was there, that none of us had had that cushion to not have a good day or to mess up and hope that someone else will do good. All 3 of us had to perform. And we had that at the back of the mind, but we knew what we were capable of. And so we played the first day. One of us didn't play so well, but the second day he played really well and brought in a very good score. And I was the last one to finish among the 3 of us. And at the last hole, both of them were waiting for me, and they said, "Sir, हम लोग ये जीत सकते हैं, और बस आपको ये फिनिश करना है. आप ये फिनिश कर दो, ये पट डाल दो, हम लोग जीत जाएंगे." So I said, "Okay, thanks for the added pressure." But it was a slightly difficult part, but then I knew what I had to do, and I took my time. And this was a great opportunity because, first of all, we are Indians. This tournament is happening in Pakistan. Pakistan is one of the teams which we are trying to defeat. And this is a golden opportunity. So I did, and I was able to finish that putt, make that putt, and we won by a shot. And it was a great achievement for us. And in the interview during the prize presentation, one of the coaches of another teams, he was talking about stroke of luck and this and that, because one of the team members of his team got disqualified because of certain things. So just one day his score didn't get counted. So he was talking about all of that, but I said, look, you still had four guys. We only had three. So there is no luck. We worked hard for it, and we have won, uh, fair and square. So, but yeah, that was a great achievement to lift the trophy for our country, and in Pakistan amongst Pakistanis. So yeah, it's always a great achievement when you can achieve
Of
something for
course.
your own country and come back with the trophy with you. So uh, yes, those adversities were there, but we knew what we were capable of, and we had faith in our own game. So we got together and we said, look, we'll do the best we can, and that's it. If we do the best we can, we'll definitely win it, and that's what happened. We won it. So adversities are there, but they're there to test you. So either you take up that challenge and rise above, and achieve things which even you don't think you can achieve, because the situation makes you do those things. uh, Otherwise you can just complain about it, or uh, crumple down and just lose even before start playing. So yes, adversities is a great teacher. And as far as the other question which you asked about this GB syndrome which I had, uh, like I said, I've been blessed by God in many ways, and I was very young when I had this GB syndrome, and it's a disease where you get paralyzed waist below, and unless it is stopped in critical time, it and you start if the paralysis starts moving up, and the moment it reaches the heart, it paralyzes the heart, and you can die instantly. So it's a very dangerous disease, and it's not very common, but it happened to me in a very early age. And this all I know now, because at that time I didn't know what had happened to me because I was very young. And my grandfather was present at that time, and they really took good care of me. They took all the decisions for me. Uh, uh, I got all the treatment that I could. I went through the physiotherapy, uh, but the love, the support, the encouragement I had from my family, from our community, I think because of those, and mostly I believe all the prayers of all the well wishers. Uh, those are the things why I was able to come out of it. And then yes, my father had this dream that uh, if the doctor says that he might not even walk, let's make him a sports person where legs are the most important uh, parts of the body. So it was his vision, and his goal, his dedication. He has given a lot of his time for me uh, since my early days. So yes, for every person, yes, we all are talented. We all have a lot we achieve on our own, but nothing is achievable without help of people, and having a guide uh, in any form, a mentor or a guide, which we are fortunate to have in our community. And my father has been that role model and that guide for us, for many of us. And it's about having faith in your guide, knowing that the decisions they take for you a lot of times are better because they are experienced, and you just have to put faith in them and let them do the driving, and we should take the back seat. uh, Let them take us to our destination, and then we can take it forward from there, from what we have in us to achieve. But it is very important to have a guide in our life in any form, whatever way we do. We have gurus, we have teachers, we have professors, we have mentors. We all have someone we look up to.
So
But
true.
to have a living guide who guides you at every step, those are the people who take you through these adversities, because it's not easy to go through adversities and difficult times alone, because a lot of times the mental state that one gets into, you need someone else to take you out of it and to guide you properly. So yes, again, I would say I've been blessed a lot to have these guides in my life who have taken me through all these journeys, given me courage, given me the support, and showed me the right direction where I need to go. And then it's up to us what we do.
So the two, wonderful lessons I have pulled from what you said was one. First of all, we are proud of you and your team to bring back that trophy for India. But we often see that when somebody wins, people say he's lucky, but they forget the hard work that person has put into years and years of toil to come up to the level he or she is at that point of time. And secondly, one lesson that was there in this book, one chapter, where the author is talking about the F words. And he said that we run after fame, but the other F's that we leave behind are friends, family, faith, and fun. So here, this also comes up that yes, it is so very true to take both things hand in hand and walk ahead, to have that balance in life, which is very important and critical. I once again thank you, sir, from the bottom of my heart to come and join us and share so many wonderful lessons of life, of golf, and your success story. Uh, yes, these are memorable sessions and will always be an integral part of Talk a Book. Thank you all for joining this session. And we are going to continue with a few more sessions on this book, The Habit of Winning by Prakash Iyer. Then we'll take up another book. I'll see you all on Tuesday.
Arfat, thank you very much for having me. It was a real pleasure
Thank you.
to be on your show, and I wish you all the success. And you are doing a great job
Thank you so
of
much.
bringing in other personalities or other top personalities and having them share their views, because that really helps to know that people have achieved.
Yes.
It's not just the written word; it's a lived word. So it's a great thing that you're doing.
Thank you,
Please
sir.
keep doing it, and thank you
Thank you
very much
so
for
much,
having
sir.
me.
I always say that this book is turning into an experience day by day. We usually read a book, close it, and keep it, and maybe forget it. But this would remain a very, very memorable one. And also to acknowledge Mr. Faiz Fazal, whom I had invited for this session, and he has been graceful enough to come. And he was one of the champions who came to our show and talked about some good lessons of life and of sports. Thank you so much once again, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.